We heard that there is a farmer, Dave, at Moto Perpetuo, who is raising pigs on cannabis leaves.
What
WTF.
the?
Why? How? Why? How?
What does this taste like?
So we're gonna visit the farm in Oregon, and then we're gonna head over to Chef Vitali's restaurant, Imperial.
And try these pigs.
So this is greenhouse 2 of 9. There's Power Rec. This is Bubble Bomb from a Dutch seed breeder, and then there's lavender on the backside there.
The number one question on my mind, and I'm sure like everybody's mind, are these pigs getting high?
The answer to that is no. Pigs actually have a very similar cannabinoid receptor system that humans do. In order for any minimal amount of THC that would be in this part of the plant to even be psychoactive, there's a process that the THC would have to go through. Harvest-wise, as far as when we're generating material for the pigs, there's 2 different stages. One, these plants have been pruned several times already. So if you just let the plant grow wild, this would be a really full canopy. It would be an insane bush. There'd be a bunch of lower level, smaller flowers. So we prune out a lot of that material, and that's what you saw us feed this morning. Then we come in and we harvest and we cherry pick the very best buds, down about 8 to 10 inches, depending on the varietal. Come back through, strip off all of the usable material for processing. So it'll go into edibles or vape pens. All of the green material that's left at that point is what goes to the pigs. We also take the root balls out, and that goes to the pigs. They love the root balls.
How much of their diet ends up being the leftover leaves and stalks?
I'd say by weight, it's probably 20 to 25%.
Wow. How old are these plants?
Just a few months old. You can grow a 14, 16 foot tall plant that's 12 feet wide in a single season.
So it actually does produce a ton of waste.
Yeah, there's a lot of byproduct, and for us, we found a way to use that benefits both sides of the operation. This is still cheaper, even though there's labor involved in this process. A lot of that labor is relative to creating a higher quality flour. And then the tail end labor feeding to the pig is still cheaper than buying in commercial commodity grain, particularly because we would only be sourcing organic or non-GMO grains, not your standard cheap commodity stuff. That's part of the reason we use the pigs, is we don't compost this material and bring it back into the system. We're in a legally recreational cannabis state, which allows us to do this, but it also allows us to tell the bigger story of an integrated farm system and how we believe about raising our animals and producing our cannabis or producing our vegetables. And that bigger story can be told once people are intrigued by this initial kind of novelty, right?
Yeah. That's the story to me. That, that integration, that farming, that system that works uniquely in Oregon.
I'm not a pot farmer, I'm a farmer. Yeah. And this is an active and important part of a diverse agricultural system that works from my scaled operation, which is very small.
All right, fellas, I think we've got everything we need to get here for the time being. Let's head over to Imperial and maybe taste some of the weed piggy goodness.
Weed piggy goodness. New hashtag.
New hashtag.
Yeah.
So we're here at Imperial. Chef Vitali, thank you again for having us. We're here with Chef Matthew.
Hey.
Thank you so much.
So Paley's Place is the place where it really all began for us, for me. My wife and I opened that in '95. Imperial is the second child in our family. We opened it in 2012. Matthew's been here with us since the beginning. He started with us as a cook, now as the executive chef. The very first time we did this, it was about a year ago. We did an event with my buddy Brent Farmery from New York, and we called it High in a Hog. Then not too long ago, we did an event outside of Paley's Place in a parking lot. It was kind of a pot roast, if you will.
Whoa.
Again, we roasted it on a spit.
We're gonna try this pig.
Wow. Okay. See the color on that is amazing.
We're gonna pull our pork secreto out of this guy, and the secreto is a muscle that when an animal gets this big, it distends. It gets large enough that you can differentiate it from the other flat meat, and it has a lot of really nice intermuscular fat. The flavor is really good, and it cooks up nicely at medium. You don't have to kind of hammer it like you do with the rest of the pork.
Essentially, the darker it is, like the more flavor, but then also knowing it's like 14 months old, which is over double what a pig normally gets to grow to. This is gonna be so good.
You can't really tell anything of its diet right now other than it lived a really great life from the color of the meat. It is really cool that you're curing it. The diet will probably present itself in a year from now.
That's kind of what I'm hoping to see is when you add thyme, a little bit of salt. You know, that's why when you taste pigs from Spain, the famous pata negra, you actually do taste that earthiness from the acorns that they eat at the end of their lives or throughout their lives.
Right.
Yeah. How did you guys get interested in serving the secreto? Because this is not something that's like familiar on American menus. This is a Portuguese and Spanish cut primarily.
That is exactly the reason why we wanted to do something totally different. Wanted to introduce people to a familiar yet new cut. Comes from the same piece of meat that they've been eating forever, except in a different way.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful cut.
Matthew, will you cook this for us?
Please.
We thought would be kind of a cool way of bringing back an old technique of planking.
Yeah.
But planking on something that's distinctly local, yet again, bringing this like farm to table thing even further full circle for us. Put the plank into the fire, get it all smoky, pull it out, toss a piece of meat on it, and keep on repeating the process. There's a historical society here in Portland, literally blocks away from here. I went there digging through menus that date back to 1920s. And there are menus that literally stay planked and underneath a whole bunch of different cuts that you can. So when we were actually toying around with this idea, I put scallops on here, I put mussels on there, I put salmon on here, I put just you name it, I put it on here. It was all really tasty, but it made sense to do it with a nice piece of pork like this because it actually takes enough time to develop the flavor.
It's really amazing to see like how much thought is going into every process of this animal's like life and what happens to it after its life.
You know, we got to be able to tell that story in a very light-hearted but constructive fashion. That it just makes me feel all fuzzy and warm inside, really.
I actually just forgot that we were about to eat pork.
Yeah. Well, it almost smells beefy with all the smoke that's on it, you know?
Get in there, guys, and then maybe try a little bit of this romesco as well. Just kind of swipe the romesco in there and...
Oh yeah. It is amazing how much flavor you're imparting through that plank and that smoke. And just a little bit of seasoning on the outside.
Seriously, this really doesn't taste like pork.
For me, I would say that it doesn't really impart the flavor of cannabis or what we understand that flavor to be. What I do taste is a healthier animal.
Yeah.
It's juicier pork. The texture is more resistant. There's no like mushiness involved whatsoever.
It's a better diet. It's really
No, it doesn't taste like weed, thank God. But you're right, every animal is healthier with salad in their diet. Like that's just the way it is. Pigs are no different. Pigs is just a really, really great cut, cooked really, really well.
This is Oregon on a plate.
Yeah. And in the glass. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Chef. To learn more about drugs, man.
Yeah.
Click here to check out a video from our friends at Vox.
When you take LSD, your brain looks something like this. You can actually see a higher degree of connectivity.